Good evening, folks. I'm your host, Henry Scriven-Young, and welcome back to Uptime, pure gaming, tunes and news, no cheat codes required, here on WRGW District Radio. I'd like to thank everyone who tuned in last week, and a special thank you to everyone who has tuned in for tonight's show. For those of you who don't know, Uptime is a music show where I play the soundtracks from video games. I'll also be throwing in some news and other fun bits, so sit back and relax as we jump into tonight's show. I don't quite know what it is, but there's something about games exploring or utilizing elements of British culture that I just love. We Happy Few, for example, is a rewriting of history in which Britain grapples with its loss to the Germans in World War II. Thank Goodness You're Here is a comedic tale exploring what it means to be English in a small town. And tonight's game explores how a small British town reacts to an unknown virus. Tonight's game is one you've probably never heard of, but one that I'm very excited for. Tonight's game is Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. For those unfamiliar with tonight's game, here is a quick rundown. Everybody's Gone to the Rapture is a 2015 adventure video game developed by The Chinese Room and published by Sony Computer Entertainment for the PlayStation 4. The game takes place in a small English village where inhabitants have mysteriously disappeared. It is considered a spiritual successor to Dear Esther from 2012, which was also developed by The Chinese Room. It was released for PlayStation 4 on August 11th, 2015, and for Windows on April 14th of 2016. In Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, the player can interact with floating lights throughout the world, most of which can reveal parts of the story. The player can also interact with objects such as doors, radios, phones, fences, and power switches. The game takes place in 1984, in the fictional Shropshire village named Yowton. The player's objective is to explore the world and try to discover how and why everyone in the village has disappeared. Mysterious floating orbs of light swim around the air and lead the player to scenes made up of other human-shaped lights, which reenact various previously occurring events. Following the orbs from scene to scene across the valley, as well as finding telephones and radios that replay conversations, recording, and broadcasts, eventually provide all the puzzle pieces to the game's main event, the Rapture. There are 5 areas in the game, each of which revolve around a different character, with the main protagonist being Dr. Catherine, or Kate, Collins, and her husband, Stephen Appleton, both scientists at the observatory. During their work, Kate and Stephen encounter a strange pattern of lights in the night sky, which they believe is an unknown form of life. With all of that out of the way, let's get back to the music. And welcome back to Exclamation Point Uptime. That was Liquid Light, The Sleep of Death, Forever, and The Morning Tree. Starting with the first one, Liquid Light. I love the use of vocals throughout this soundtrack. I feel like it's something that we really haven't gotten in this caliber in quite a very, very long time, and the mix of that with the string instruments is just absolutely breathtaking. For The Sleep of Death, it's nice to have a serious song with words. I mean, a lot of the previous songs that we've had with words have been nice, but they've been kind of like ridiculous or silly, like Zombies on Your Lawn isn't particularly like beautiful, but it is kind of funny and it's kind of interesting. But I mean, this song and this whole soundtrack is just beautiful. I mean, the entrance of the choir was incredible, and this is why I love vocals in video game soundtracks, right? You can do so much with the human voice, and I feel like that cannot be fully replaced by instruments, especially in a soundtrack like this, where you're going for that more kind of religious feel and religious undertones, and that comes out in the next song, Forever, which, you know, has pretty obvious religious undertones. It's very unison. It has chanting on kind of one-ish note, very short phrases. It's like it's giving religion. And for the last one, I think the lead singer just does a wonderful job. Beautiful voice, blends great with the strings, so just excellent, excellent. Before we move on to our next section of music, I'd like to talk about our sponsor for today's episode of Exclamation Point Uptime. This episode of Exclamation Point Uptime is sponsored by Chronic Health Advocates. Chronic Health Advocates is a health advocacy organization that aims to educate the GW community on issues regarding rare and chronic illnesses and disabilities, promote awareness across the George Washington University, and provide a space for both allies and patients to discuss various topics relevant to the rare and chronic illness community. 6 in 10 Americans are living with a rare or chronic illness, and there are approximately 7,000 verified rare diseases. Patients diagnosed with rare or chronic illnesses may experience a number of issues like stigma, misdiagnosis, and mental health. The mission of Chronic Health Advocates is to provide a space for both students and allies to discuss issues relevant to the rare diseases and the chronic illness community. If you have questions or would like to be involved, you can join via Engage or contact the official email at gwcha@gwu.edu. Again, that's gwcha@gwu.edu. Would you like to sponsor Exclamation Point Uptime? Well, each week I will shout out, as I just did, a GW student organization. You can sponsor Exclamation Point Uptime by submitting the sponsorship form found on the Exclamation Point Uptime website at sites.google.com/view/uptime-wrgw. Or you can head to my Instagram account, where I have that website linked throughout my profile. And a reminder that this is not financially compensated and is more of a shout-out type of thing to promote student organizations here at GW. Additionally, the Exclamation Point Uptime website has been updated since our last show, so I encourage all of you to take a look and explore the website while we take a quick break.
Peasant.
You're listening to WRGW,
Oh, great. Now you tell me.
where there's always lots of fun
Are you kidding?
and great music.
Lies and slander.
Tune in at gwradio.com.
Would you kindly shut your noise hole?
What's up, guys? We're Marigogo. You're listening to WRGW District Radio.
Touch them. They're everywhere.
Yeah, right. The guy's hepped up on goofballs. Goofballs? There's a kite, everybody.
Let's sacrifice him to our gods!
Okay.
What the hell are you talking about?
WRGW, Washington.
Is this some kind of show?
Yeah, I don't know what you guys are talking about. That scared the crap out of me.
Meet the Mets. Meet the Mets. Step right up and greet.
The 0-2 pin, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
And welcome back to Exclamation Point Uptime here on WRGW District Radio. I'm your host, Henry Scriven-Young, and that was Disappearing, All of My Birds, A Choice, and The Seventh Whistler. So starting with Disappearing, the piano here is a nice touch. The wind and strings coming together for this song is like the perfect change of pace while still keeping a similar vibe to the rest of the soundtrack. You know, it doesn't all need to be the same. I don't need everything the same. I don't need vocals in every piece. I feel like this one probably could be cut up into multiple songs. I mean, look, the flute solo with the harp is beautiful, but it was long enough to be its own piece of music, and I think it could have been. That's just my opinion. I don't really feel super strongly one way or the other. For All of My Birds, it's another great piece of music. A lot of these pieces were actually originals, created specifically for the game, which I still find amazing because a lot of them sound so good. I mean, this song in particular is great. Even the next one, A Choice, is another banger. The choir and the flute sound really great together. If anything, the flute may be a touch too loud, but, you know, it is what it is. It's hard to balance with human voices, but it may be a little too loud there. And then The Seventh Whistler, another beautiful song. I love the various swells of the music here that this particular song has. It's nice to hear when music is very dynamic. You know, it changes. It's not super stagnant. It does stuff. That's always nice to hear. A quick note here. If you ask anyone who has played this game, they will tell you that it is amazing. That the world is beautiful, the story pulls at your heartstrings, and that the soundtrack is incredible. IGN gave the game an 8.5 out of 10, and GameSpot gave the game a 9 out of 10, and it has won numerous awards. Everybody's Gone to the Rapture has won 12 different awards, including Best Emotional Artist Game Achievement and Best Original Song in the choral category. So, what stopped these from being 10 out of 10 reviews? Well, mostly it was walking speed. People complained that the speed was too slow and the hotfix for it was too clumsy. You press a button. If you hold down that button for 7 seconds, you unlock the ability to sprint. If you ask me, that sounds like pointless nitpicking, but I guess that's why I'm not a video game reviewer. If you want to experience the game for yourself, it can be purchased on Steam for just $19.99. With that being said, let's move on to some more music. And welcome back. I hope you all enjoyed An Early Harvest, The Fragmenting, A Beautiful Morning, and Carry Me Back to Her Arms. So starting with An Early Harvest, this one is much better than Disappearing, despite it being about the same length. The thing that makes this one better is the flow of the music, right? There's no awkward silences, and the instruments fit together in a way that keeps pushing the song forward. It sounds like one song, which is very important. The fragmenting, it's nice to have the vocals back. I think the layering is very nice. A Beautiful Morning, first off, big missed opportunity here. It's spelled M-O-R-N-I-N-G instead of morning, M-O-U-R-N-I-N-G. Just saying, I feel like that's a missed opportunity. Another thing that this also has for in terms of religious undertones is the text, which is something that I didn't mention. Shall, words like thy, soul, heart. There's a lot of words that you hear in religious texts that are coming through specifically in the songs that we're listening to in this soundtrack, so just wanted to mention that as well. And then Carry Me Back to Her Arms. I love the men's chorus here. These guys sound incredible. It reminds me of my time in Canto Vivo, which was a men's group that I was a part of. But I think they just sounded great. Absolutely awesome. Moving on to the news. This past week in video game news had a variety of thought-provoking stories. I've selected two interesting stories that I hope will give you some pause or cause you to think about the video game industry in some way. So without further ado, let's jump right into these stories. Our first story here is from Paste Magazine. Over the last 3 years, the maximum generally charged for a game has jumped from $60 to around $80. Years ago, after the Xbox 360 era brought this number from $50 to $60 in 2005, games maintained that soft cap until around 2020, when NBA 2K21 charged $70. Since then, pricing has been sporadic, with some companies charging $70 for big budget games, while others still charge $60. And now, just a few years later, in a new high point, it has been set, which will likely be matched by at least a few publishers. Now, obviously, the existence of inflation means that game prices probably couldn't have feasibly remained at $60 forever. In fact, $60 in 2005 has the same buying power as $97.10 does today. If you look back further to the 70s and 80s, these numbers can be even more extreme, with a $40 Atari game going for the equivalent of $208.34 today. While console prices rise and fall from generation to generation, game costs have been a Pandora's box for the last 20 years. Once they go up, they rarely go back down. And with Nintendo's Mario Kart World being currently priced at $80, Nintendo just made the entire game industry a whole lot less accommodating. Our second story here is from PC Gamer. House Speaker Mike Johnson hates video games. Well, kind of. Let me explain. The Trump administration is targeting the Medicaid program for cuts and wants to add additional work requirements similar to the program that currently exists in Georgia. Speaker Johnson said these cuts were justified because they aren't cutting benefits to, quote, anyone who's duly owed, end quote. He claims that, quote, if you clean Medicaid up, you save a lot of money, and you return the dignity of work to young men who need to be out working instead of playing video games all day, end quote. This is a nice sentiment, I guess, but if you look at it, it doesn't make much sense when you look under the hood. For instance, in February, healthcare researcher KFF reported that the majority of people who use Medicaid do work. 64% of Medicaid recipients work full or part-time, and those who are not working have a disability or are in school. Although, I suppose that if you're Speaker Mike Johnson, nothing makes more sense than preventing a middle-aged man from getting an X-ray because he played Call of Duty 3 years ago. And that's it for the news this week. As we move into the last 10 minutes of the show, I'd like to talk about recordings. I've uploaded Uptime's most recent episode, Sam and Max Save the World, and placed the recording on the Uptime website. You can expect recordings to be posted approximately 1 week after the airing of the show it corresponds with. Speaking of which, be sure to fill out the special guest form, sponsorship form, and the show idea submission form. A reminder that this episode of Exclamation Point Uptime is sponsored by Chronic Health Advocates. Chronic Health Advocates is a health advocacy organization that aims to educate the GW community on issues regarding rare and chronic illnesses and disabilities, promote awareness across the George Washington University, and provide a space for both allies and patients to discuss various topics relevant to the rare and chronic illness community. If you have questions or would like to be involved, you can join via Engage or contact the official email at gwcha@gwu.edu. Would you like to submit your student org for sponsorship? Well, be sure to check out the Exclamation Point Uptime website, where the form to submit is at sites.google.com/view/uptime-WRGW. I'd like to thank you all for listening in to tonight's episode of Exclamation Point Uptime on WRGW District Radio. I'm your host, Henry Scriven-Young, and I'll see everyone next week for Pure Gaming Tunes and News. No cheat codes required.